Phoenix City Council Public Safety Subcommittee and also District 7. Councilwoman Felicitas Mendoza from District 8, where this incident occurred. Assistant City Manager Milton Dahoney. In addition, we have Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams with her executive staff, Assistant Chiefs Mike Kurtenbach, Assistant Chief John Collins, Assistant Chief Mary Roberts, Assistant Chief Sandra Renteria, Assistant Chief Jim Burgett, and Assistant Chief Louis Tovar. In addition, we have the Commander, Christina Gonzalez from the Family Investigations Bureau, which has been in charge of this investigation. In addition, we have Miss Jody Wolf, who is the administrator of the Phoenix Police Department Crime Laboratory. We also have Commander Grady Carlson, commander of the Tactical Support Bureau. In addition, we're fortunate to have the sergeant, the lieutenant, as well as the two investigators who have been the lead on the investigation that we're going to talk about. First, we will hear from our mayor, Mayor Thelda Williams from the City of Phoenix, and then she will be followed by Chief Jerry Williams.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. We are very proud of our police department. They have spent endless hours investigating this heinous crime, and I am very pleased to announce that an arrest has been made. I know that a lot of people were involved. I know our officers took this crime to heart. This is a facility that you should be safe in, and someone wasn't. And I really want to thank them for all the hours, the hard work, and their dedication to making this case be solved and keep us safe. Chief Williams, would you like to give Chief?
I would, Mayor.
When I said Chief Williams, it threw me for a second.
Right. Because everyone thinks we're related, Mayor. So good morning to everyone, and thank you to Mayor Williams, as well as to those people who are standing with me and next to me. I stand here today to announce to the community that the hard work and dedication demonstrated by the members of this Phoenix Police Department has resulted in the arrest of the person whom we believe committed this unspeakable act when he sexually assaulted one of our most vulnerable members of our community. As you know, this matter came to our attention of the Phoenix Police Department on Saturday, December 29th, when we received a 911 call of a baby in distress. Most of you have listened to that 911 tape. We responded to the scene and began the process of doing what I continually say that the men and women of this department do each and every day, that we're sworn to protect. From the minute we first became aware of this crime, a sexual assault, we have worked virtually nonstop every day, every night, 7 days a week, trying to solve and resolve this case. The investigation was and still is the highest priority for our department. Through a combination of good old-fashioned police work, combing through evidence, talking to people, following up on information, combined with the marvels of DNA technology, we are able to identify and develop probable cause to arrest the suspect. And at this time, I am announcing the arrest of the suspect we believe who is responsible. He is 36-year-old Nathan Sutherland. Sutherland is a licensed practical nurse who was responsible for providing care to the victim during this time the sexual assault occurred. Sutherland is being booked as we speak into the Maricopa County Jail, where he will be charged with 1 count of sexual assault and 1 count of vulnerable adult abuse in connection with this crime. I want to purposely recognize and thank the men and women of the Phoenix Police Crime Lab, the Family Investigations Bureau, as well as the Fugitive Apprehension, Investigation, and Street Crimes Detail. Without your tireless work and effort, this would not be possible, and I wouldn't be standing here today. This, again, is a testament to the drive and compassion that the employees of the Phoenix Police Department have for our community. We owed this arrest to the victim. We owed this arrest to the newest member of our community, that innocent baby. So with that, if I can entertain a few questions, and then I'll turn it over to Sergeant Tommy Thompson.
Chief, how did you come to the conclusion that it was Mr. Sutherland?
So again, old-fashioned police work, talking to people in DNA technology, and just literally combing through details of information is how we were able to form probable cause for this arrest.
Was Mr. Sutherland currently charged with or caring for this victim, or was it
So I will need to have Sergeant Thompson answer that, but we do know that Sutherland was employed at Hacienda.
Currently. What DNA database was the match made on?
I will need to have Sergeant Thompson talk about that.
Has this individual worked in other facilities like this, whether they're disability or elderly?
So we will have Sergeant Thompson talk about that too. So we're just here again to announce the details and just the fact that this horrible crime happened. Was beyond reproach, and when we all heard about it, we were extremely concerned about it, and we knew it was going to be our top priority. So any investigative details, I'm going to leave that to Sergeant Thompson, but I am proud of the work that the men and women of this police department do each and every day, day in and day out. We're very blessed to have the folks that we have.
Chief, let me ask you before we get to investigative questions, how many members of law enforcement worked on this case, and in your time in law enforcement, have you ever seen anything like this?
So we've not, in my 30 years in law enforcement, have not seen that. We've had hundreds of people working with the police department. So we talked a little bit about it. We have the Family Investigations Bureau, the Crime Lab, the Fugitive Apprehension Detail, Patrol, administrative staff, you name it. We've all been all in on this. And to the credit of for the mayor and city council, we constantly kept them updated on what's going on, and they really left it wide open for us to take care of our job and do what we do best, and that's take care of our community.
A few weeks ago, Hacienda had brought out Rick Romley to do an internal investigation of their own happenings inside of Hacienda, and a lot of people were a little bit skeptical if they were going to cooperate. How helpful, or if at all, was Hacienda with this investigation?
So I will leave that to the investigators, but suffice to say we made an arrest. So regardless of what may have been talked about in the media, talked about in the public, my folks stayed true to the investigative process and made an arrest. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tommy Thompson that's going to answer any more questions so we can exit. Thank you.
Thank you. As you know, we have a fallen firefighter. The funeral is today at 10 o'clock, so a lot of our people have to be to that. Let me just say that you all became aware of this investigation when we held a press conference about 10 or 14 days ago to give you the information. And let me give you an update on where we are, and I'll go back a little bit in time in case some of you aren't familiar with what actually transpired. On December the 29th, 2018, Phoenix police officers responded to a healthcare facility in the area of 1400 East South Mountain Avenue, reference a baby that was in distress. At that point, we found out that the mother was incapacitated, which was a flag to us. We realized that she was not in a position to give consent, and we began immediately to conduct a sexual assault investigation. Members of the Family Investigations Bureau responded to the scene and started that investigation. I am here to tell you that working with the investigators, they have worked pretty much non-stop since this incident occurred over 3 weeks ago. Now, through the course of their investigations, detectives authored and served search warrants to obtain records to identify individuals who may have had access to the victim in this case. In addition, detectives authored court orders to obtain DNA evidence from numerous individuals. That evidence was sent to the Phoenix Police Department Crime Lab, and those individuals worked tirelessly to compare those DNA samples with DNA obtained from the baby. Now, one of the samples obtained through a court order was from 36-year-old Nathaniel Sutherland. Sutherland was a licensed practical nurse, or an LPN, who was responsible for providing care to the victim during the time this sexual assault occurred. On Tuesday, January 22nd, that was yesterday, the scientists in the Phoenix Police Crime Laboratory determined the sample obtained from Sutherland matched the baby. Shortly after that determination, Sutherland was taken into custody by officers from the Phoenix Police Department Fugitive Apprehension Investigations Detail and taken to Phoenix Police Headquarters for processing. Based upon probable cause that they developed through this investigation, Nathan Sutherland is being booked into the Maricopa County Jail today, as we speak, charged with 1 count of sexual assault and 1 count of vulnerable adult abuse. Now, let me just say that this case is still ongoing. We're still gathering information. And investigators are encouraging anyone who may have information about this incident to contact the Phoenix Police Department. They can call the Violent Crimes Bureau at 602-262-6141, or, of course, our partner, Silent Witness, which is 480-WITNESS. For Spanish, it's 480-TESTIGO. Now, I'm sure you have questions.
Tell me, how did the process go with the DNA sampling? So obviously, it sounds like this guy, he is an employee, and you guys went and DNA sampled everyone or all the males. What was that process?
So, as I told you on the initial press conference, this is a long process to obtain information. So we started working inward, working outward, and that involving people who were employed at that facility. So one of the individuals that came to our attention was Mr. Sutherland. So as we went through that process, he was detained yesterday and brought into the Phoenix Police Department headquarters for processing, and based upon a court order, we were able to obtain DNA samples, DNA evidence from him, which was compared to that of the baby. And that's when the crime laboratory scientists confirmed that in fact, that he was the suspect in this case.
You mentioned that he was brought to your attention. How? Did people maybe point out maybe something happened?
Through the course of the investigation, he was an individual that was identified as a person who possibly had access to the victim in this case.
Was he currently caring for the victim?
When the incident occurred, he was responsible for care of that victim.
Are you looking into whether he may have assaulted this victim multiple times or any other patient at the facility?
Again, this investigation is ongoing. That would be one of our concerns, is were there other victims or how many times this occurred. We may not know how many times this occurred. And I will tell you something that as an investigator, as a member of our community, that I look at as important is this was an employee rather than a stranger who made his way into the facility. This individual had access and actually was employed there.
Was he arrested at the facility or at his home? Was he currently working at the time that we detained him?
It's my understanding that he was not working at the time that we contacted him and obtained that evidence. And I don't know for certain if he's still at that facility. I think he's still employed there, or was.
Do you think he was acting alone?
We have no indications that there were other people involved, but again, this is an ongoing investigation.
To be clear, 2 DNA samples?
You know, I don't know the specific number. I don't know that yesterday was the first day we obtained samples from him.
Do you know if he has worked at other facilities like this one in the past?
I don't know his work history. And again, we're reaching out to the community to have anyone that has information to contact us so that we can follow up. Again, still an ongoing investigation.
Why did it take so long to obtain the DNA sample? I know you had to go through the proper court orders and all of that, but were you getting samples from other people? Was he not high on the list? Why did it take so long?
We were continuing through the process, and again, it's a significant amount of time required to identify people who were employed by the facility, to then contact those people, to bring them in to obtain DNA samples from them. So it's quite a process.
That sample, I mean, he gave it willingly, or was there, any type of discussion on his end where he was refusing, knowing that he would be caught?
The information I have is that he gave the sample after after he found out that we did have a court order compelling him to provide that evidence.
So you mentioned that you found Mr. Sutherland because he was around, he worked with the patient around the time that she may have gotten pregnant. When was that?
Well, we think this baby was full term or very close to it. So if you just backtrack, Cameron, backwards 9 months from December the 29th, we believe it occurred during that time that he was working there.
Is Mr. Sutherland being cooperative? I mean, after he was arrested, did he make any statements about this?
Mr. Sutherland invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and did not participate in an interview.
What is the spelling of his name?
I will have that. Let me point that out. I'll put out a press advisory. I'm just waiting for the booking number so that you can get a booking photo of him. But his first name is spelled Nathan, Nathan. Sutherland is Sutherland. Sutherland. Nathan Sutherland. And he's 36 years of age.
Any other patients were assaulted at the facility?
I'm sorry, please.
Are you investigating whether any other patients at the facility were also victims?
If that information comes to our attention, then we will pursue that. Some of the things that you ask, and it's been interesting as we've gone through this process. We've had a number of opinions, a number of ideas that have come to our organization. One of the things to keep in mind, we're leaving that to the individuals, the family, the caretakers to determine what other testing, but we're prepared to take this investigation wherever it goes. And let me point out that while we handle the criminal investigation, there are other things that the state agencies are dealing with, the regulatory agencies, the ones who oversee care facilities such as this. And I will also tell you a question that has been asked to me several times is, were there any other agencies brought in to assist us? Let me say that our federal partners from the start have offered their assistance should we need it. At this point, we haven't needed it. But again, as I've said from the start, if we develop any other information, we are prepared as the Phoenix Police Department to follow those leads, to follow those investigations, and follow this investigation wherever it ultimately takes us.
Does the suspect have a background check?
I don't have his information. Keep in mind he was an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, and there's some fairly strict regulations and laws on criminal activity and maintaining that certification.
How cooperative, if at all, was Hacienda Healthcare throughout this process?
I don't know specifically, but I'm led to believe that the detectives were able to obtain the information that they needed. Again, we use search warrants, we use court orders, because that, as we go down through the prosecutorial system, as we go through the adjudication process, those search warrants, those court orders become important. So we use those, and that relieves a lot of the responsibility from the facility to, because they have to do it under the order of a judge.
What's left in the investigation then? We have an arrest, but I imagine it's not over. We still have to go deeper into how and why this would even occur.
Again, we're dealing with a large investigation. We told you it was yesterday that we were able to finally get to this individual to go through the testing process. An investigation is accompanied by many, many, many hours of writing reports and putting those in order. So again, we still have evidence to go through. We want to make sure that we have a solid case. At this point, again, we've developed probable cause, and that's why Mr. Sutherland was arrested.
It seems like throughout this process, the most difficult part, and if that's wrong, let me know. But it seems like the most difficult part is that the victim in all of this, from what we know, wasn't able to communicate at least too much what had happened. But we have learned recently that she is able to make some communications. Has she been able to help the investigation?
I don't know to what extent that she's been able to help. That there are challenges in any investigation. Certainly that was a challenge. Just the sheer size, the scope, the magnitude of this investigation was in and of itself a challenge for us.
Do you know in his position how many patients he cared for at the facility? Did he go around the entire facility?
I don't know that. Question was asked also how many different facilities he may or may not have worked at. I don't have that information.
Did he have a record?
I am not aware of any record that he has. I will tell you this, that our information is that he was employed and did work at the facility. I don't know who his actual employer was, but I can tell you that he worked at that facility since about 2011.
You had said that based on other individuals had brought his name up to your attention. Are those individuals going to be held responsible if they knew that maybe he had was behaving inappropriately with patients?
That's a great question. We're asking people who have any information to come forward. If those are fellow employees, if they're the family members of patients that this individual may or may not have had contact with, if they've got information, we would like to get that information so that we can find out how it pertains to our investigation or if it pertains to our investigation.
I don't know if he was contracted, so maybe specifically hired by Hacienda to work solely at Hacienda in their skilled nursing, their IFC, or their FF, whatever, their intermediate care facility?
That's correct. To recap what you just said, I don't know who his actual employer is. As many of you are aware, nurses often contract, do different things, and I can't answer that question. I don't have this gentleman's employment history.
How is the baby doing?
I'm glad you brought that up. The baby, I am told, is doing good. This is a baby that's, I would just say that we can't always choose how we come into this life, but what we can choose to do as a community is love this child, and that's what we have the opportunity to do. And I'm pleased to say that the baby, I am told, is doing quite well.
Is the baby still in the hospital?
I'm led to believe that the baby's out of the hospital. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm led to believe that. So.
Do you know any more about Nathan married kids, where he was taking?
I don't have a lot of that information, and we typically wouldn't put that out anyway.
Do we know at all, now that we know that the baby, we believe the baby was full term, is it become any clearer in the past 23 days or whatever, how no one knew that this woman was pregnant?
I don't know as far as the investigation from our perspective. I think that's a question better asked by the health officials, because I'm certain that's a question they will ask through their internal investigations.
And do we have a date of birth for Mr. Sutherland?
We don't put out the date of birth, but I can tell you he's 36 years of age.
Can you say anything about the history of Mr. Sutherland's interactions with the victim? Like, was he typically alone with her? And was he charged with tasks like bathing her or anything?
I don't know the specific tasks. I can tell you that he was and is an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, and he was responsible for providing care. What that care consisted of, I don't have that information.
And if he was caring for her up until the birth?
I don't have that information, but I can tell you that during the period when we believe this incident occurred, the sexual assault occurred, we believe that he was the LPN, at least part of the time, responsible for her care. Sexual assault and vulnerable adult abuse, 1 count each.
Do you have a middle name?
I don't have a middle name. That's the information I was given.
Long-term care facilities being investigated?
I'm sorry, what?
Any other care facilities being investigated?
We were looking at this as a sexual assault. That was the extent of our investigation. You'll have to talk to some of the state agencies to find out, are they looking into any others? We don't know.
Were any public tips that came in the last press conference, did they help you?
That's a great question. Keep in mind, we ask people to call silent witness. When we receive a tip from silent witness, we can't acknowledge that it came. So I'm not saying that it came, but I'm just letting you know when we receive tips, we guard that anonymity, which has been protected in the court system. So I'm just going to say that we're grateful for information that we have received, and we're asking the community to have any more information to provide that for us.
And he was actively working there until yesterday?
My understanding is he was still employed at that facility.
Can you go over the timeline of the last couple days one more time, since it came to your attention first, and then
So
you served the court order asking for this?
So let me just real quick hit that. Obviously, this incident occurred on the 29th of December, 2018. We began working. We served search warrants to make sure that we identified employees that had been working there, as well as anyone that we could identify who possibly had contact with the victim. As they were going through that process, yesterday, Mr. Sutherland was brought in under the order of a court order. He provided a DNA sample. That DNA sample was tested. And I will tell you this, that because we were going through that process, it was later in the afternoon that we went back and recontacted him, took him into custody, and then he's been going through interviews or processing with the detectives, and then today, as we speak, he's currently being booked into the Maricopa County Jail.
So after the DNA sample was tested, did he leave and then he had to go?
That is
Okay.
that is correct.
And was he the one and only to have his DNA tested?
No,
Others?
there have been others. Again, this is an ongoing process.
So he was not the first?
I think that's fair to say. Yes.
And it was only males DNA tested?
Well, Cameron, in this case, yes, it was only males that were tested in a sexual assault.
Was he arrested at his house or?
I don't know specifically where he was arrested, but I'm told it was not at the facility. Okay.
What do you have to say to families of people at Hacienda? Can they breathe a sigh of relief, or because the investigation is ongoing, to still have them?
Well, again, this investigation is ongoing. We're pleased that we were able to identify a suspect, and as I said earlier, we're pleased to find out that it was not a stranger who had access there, and that's, again, an ongoing investigation where we want to determine, we want to be able to determine if there's where this investigation takes us.
And this might be kind of a stupid question, but that was just a quick match that you guys were able, you took it to the lab yesterday, and by what it seemed like a couple hours later, you had that match.
It was a little longer than that. It took quite a portion of the day, and it was checked, rechecked, triple checked, quadruple checked.
But the same day you got the sample, it was confirmed.
That is correct. That's fair. Any other questions? Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.